myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say to...
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith, and it's a good evening to Joe. How are you?
Hello, mate. I'm feeling fantastic. Yourself?
Yeah, good, mate. Always good to come on and do this show whenever there's a win, and a 4-1 win, comprehensive win. And it's your chance, guys, to give us a shout, get on the panel with us tonight. Got a couple of people in the green room waiting already, which is fantastic. So we will come back to you very, very shortly. But just want to get your opinion, Joe, of the game. A 4-1 win at Fulham. A red card, of course, for Fulham early on made it very, very difficult for them. But we've just been discussing off air that we both felt that Newcastle probably would have won that game anyway. Mitrovic was the big fear for Newcastle United fans as well. Worried that he may come back to haunt us with his early season form being excellent, it has to be said. But of course, our former number 9 went off with an injury and didn't really trouble Nick Pope in the Newcastle goal. So another 3 points. The results meant that we stayed in 7th place and deservedly so, mate. A good performance.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. I think Mitrovic probably took one look at Sven Botman, didn't he, and thought, you know what, I don't fancy this at all. It was great. It's a wonderful result. We talked on Friday, didn't we, about, nobody's pressing the panic buttons, but essentially 1 win in 7. Newcastle needed a win, and not only did they win, Steve, they won absolutely comprehensively. And yes, they went down to 10 men early doors. I would love to have seen 11v11 because I am, based on what I've seen, the extended highlights I've seen of the game and what I've read, I think Newcastle win that game, whether they go down to 10 men or not. Lots and lots of big performances, Steve. There was people who we've been mentioning on this show and throughout the week on the show, that kind of owed us one. Jacob Murphy needs some kind of special recognition. Joe Willock, back to the Joe Willock that made us buy him in the first place. And what can you say about Miggy Almiron? I mean, that goal, Steve, utterly unreal. The way that the ball come over his shoulder, he watched it onto his left foot and he just popped it. And there's a bloke who we've been saying, does he lack the confidence? Does he only perform when he's full of confidence? Well, I tell you what, based on what Alan Shearer was talking about and Ian Wright on Match of the Day, there's nothing wrong with his confidence whatsoever and the ability to pull that off. Fantastic finish. But that was one of 4 very, very, decent goals, may I add. I thought the build-up for the 4th goal was fantastic. Arguably, I was desperate for him to get his hat-trick. The finish was fabulous for the 3rd goal that was chalked off. And then Ryan Fraser with a beautiful finish in the end, again, albeit him being half a yard offside. So lots and lots of positives, Steve. We can sit and talk all day long about the impact of all of the substitutions, particularly taking 3 of the back 4 off, and that really soft goal that we conceded. But I won't let that take any shine off the weekend or the result. I thought it was fantastic, and to a man, they all deserve absolute praise. And don't forget, that's without Sam Maximin, without Isaac, without Joe Linton, who wasn't there. So three big players straight away that were missing for the first team. But look, it just shows you, doesn't it? Callum Wilson's back in the side. Bruno Guimaraes is back in the side, but fit. And what do? We've got the ability to kind of turn over a reasonable Fulham side who've made a good start to the season. So, yeah, I'm delighted. On to next week.
Yeah, the South American connection really paying off for Miggy Almiron. The link up with him and Bruno, at times is telepathic, and it was great to see. Great performance from the guys, and as you say, all-round team performance. We can pick out one person, but it would be unfair because there was 10 other people behind that. That player who were outstanding. So good team performance. Newcastle with 3 points and doing well. Okay, this is your show, so it's time to bring the first caller in, and it's a welcome return. I watched this man many times with Pete and Chris on the fans forum. It's Alan Thompson. How are you, Alan?
Thanks, Steve. Joe, for having us on. I'll try and get my camera right.
Yeah, good to see you, Alan. Thanks for coming back on, mate. We'll see you in the chat on a regular basis. And I know you were a big supporter of the lads on a Monday night when we had the old format of the fans forum. So thanks for jumping on, mate. What do you want to say tonight, mate?
Well, just to reiterate what you have said, what a fantastic result for the lads. It was brilliant to see. I was over the moon. Joe, I gave the bookmakers £10 my money because I hedged my bets and had Fulham to win. But if you saw the chat on Friday night, Steve, I predicted 4-1. You just
you did,
because I just thought it was one of them games. It could have went either way, and I thought if we're finishing the top 10, lads, I think Saturday and next week they'll find if we're getting the top 10, if it's going to be comfortable or we're going to struggle to get in the top 10. I'm not raising my high hopes that we'll get any higher than 7th, but where we are now would be a fantastic season. Anything higher is a bonus. On that point, lads, I do believe that 5th and 6th is open at the present moment because I saw Man U yesterday and basically I will go to Man United for the first time in my living memory, like Joe and Steve, with confidence that we can win. You know, for a long, since the Keegan days, definitely. Because I don't think their defence, and if we get Isaacs and some of the bigger players back, why not? We could turn them over. I really do believe that. I'm not in with it, Miggy Loving, lads. I cannot see one game. If he does it for a few more games, lads, then I'll change my mind. But you've got to remember, he scored 14, 15 goals in about, 120 appearances. Lascelles has scored about the same amount of goals as that, and he's an attacking midfielder. So one game doesn't change my mind on him. If we had a better player, I'd say put him in the squad tomorrow. Let's put it that way. If he keeps on doing it all the time, then great. I mean, that goal, lads, I don't know if you can remember the Di Canio goal a few years ago, West Ham.
Yeah.
That was the goal of the season. Now, Di Canio had the whole camera shot, and you saw the whole technique, where unfortunately for Miggy, there was a Fulham defender, so he didn't quite see how good it was. If he was clear, then Di Canio's goal was voted the goal of the season, even when it was scored in about December that year. So, we've had some belt of goals already this year. I can't believe how many top-notch worldies we've had.
We're having our own goal of the season competition, aren't we, Alan?
I know.
How will you not, lads? If you everybody in the chat, even now it's October. We've had 4 already that could win goal of the season for me. I don't know about you, Joe. I don't know if you've heard any rumours that Steve Bruce is going to be our next England manager.
I was hoping he'd replace Eddie Howe, to be fair. Gone down there and done a cracking job, hasn't he? So, I'm sure he's on the phone to Wolves now, or to Middlesbrough, of course, saying, I'm the man for this job. He hasn't quite finished rinsing people yet, has he? So, bless him.
Well, I mean, the West Brom fans are in exactly the same boat as me, Steve, Joe, that they're all talking for him to go, but he won't go because we all know it's the pure fact counts. He will not. He'll see his contract wherever he's got left out, and he'll wait until the board actually sack him and get his money. That's how he works, unfortunately. So I do feel sorry for the West Brom fans. Actually, I really do, because I think you take them down. Really do. I really, really do. Regarding us getting back, lads, to Saturday's game, I thought, everybody to a man played well. Like you say, Joe, I only saw the highlights myself. The days of getting a away ticket, Steve, are gone. Because, I'm not a young Australian with 80 points in the bag already. I just don't know how we managed to get in the way end. I'm going to complain to the club. But
it was good PR, that though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It's great to see, Steve, Joe. We all know that the academy are more for behind what's happening behind the scenes as well, lads, because the commercial deals, the young kids coming on the scene, that counts going forward in the future. I mean, the commercial dues, Joe, I mean, I've said it many times on the shows, that counts just as much as what's actually happening in front of our eyes. As much as what we want to see our team win trophies, behind the scenes just counts as much, because going forward, that's how much we can spend. And there's fair play rules won't count if we can compete with the likes of Man City and Chelsea and the likes.
Interesting knowing that you're talking about Steve Bruce there and the unfortunate time he's having at West Brom, but what a difference a year makes. We've got Miggy Almer on smashing volleys in. We've got the best talent in Australia sat with the fans. You know, we've got Amanda Staveley and Declan Donnelly, you know, kind of celebrating with everybody. You know, just short of 12 months, and look at the conversation we're having. You know, we're seventh in the Premier League. We'll consolidate that and go a bit further if we win on Saturday, and there's no reason why we can't. And as for going to Manchester United, you're dead right. I think I watched them yesterday. Those 3 goals flattered them. They shouldn't have been anywhere near scoring 3 goals, although the first one was a beauty. And if we play like we did at Anfield, and if we play like we did certainly at home to Manchester City, we'll beat them and all.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. I mean, you led us on to another great point there, Joe. I hope I'm not boring you, but about the booing that happened against Bournemouth, Steve, that's what I couldn't understand. I'm thinking, you know, the people in the crowd, I know it's success straight away. It will not happen straight away. I would love it. If we win a trophy this year, like anybody, I'd be amazed, but over the moon. But you know, keep our feet on the ground, lads. Because
Alan, I think we're always going to attract a couple of day trippers, and I think you know, executive box, a few sherries, and a prawn sandwich. You know, they're the kind of people I think who were booing at that Bournemouth game. I've got to be perfectly honest, because it wasn't anybody in the crowd around me, but people in the boxes who aren't really there for the football, might support another team. You know, the list is endless. I genuinely don't think they are regular match going supporters who were booing them. We will get a few day trippers. You see it all the time, and we saw it with Man United yesterday. You know, a lot of fans just deciding that we're going to walk out. You know, at 3-0. I mean, you see it occasionally. You know, up and down the country, we don't see vast amounts of fans leaving. I mean, that was just crazy. But yeah, booing, it shouldn't happen. Newcastle's a work in progress, and it's very positive at the minute, Alan, compared to where we were 12 months ago.
Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, unfortunately for Eddie Howe, he's got a very difficult decision coming up in the next few weeks, because will he play Isaacs with Wilson? You know, will Amron be dropped? But the good thing about it, lads, is the fact that he's got that competition, and if they play well, they'll stay in the side. Eddie Howe is very loyal that way. People might not think so, but if they stay in the side, you know, the likes of Murphy, who I don't think is good enough to take with forward, but if he plays like he did on Saturday, he stays in the team until otherwise his form drops off. But the likes of Isaacs, I would have him on the right instead of Miggy myself personally when Wilson's fit. But will he do it if Amron's scoring 2 goals a game?
I think ultimately you can't do that in modern day football now. I think we'd all like to say this is what perfect team, this is what we're going to pick, this is what Eddie Howe is going to pick. But in reality, we've seen it already this season. Injuries, suspensions. It never really happens like that. And managers who get a bit of luck get the luck with injuries and suspensions. I guess if you know you get that, it sounds ludicrous to say you're getting luck with an injury or suspension, but sometimes somebody like Murphy or somebody like Almiron, who we talk about as potentially getting moved on at some point, you've just used the phrase, can't take us forward, Alan. But those players may pick up a niggle, may pick up a suspension, whatever. And that's how somebody like Isak gets in alongside Wilson. And then, you know, we move on. It's the same with the back four. I think with the back four, I think Eddie will continue to rotate because the players know their formation. They know how they're supposed to play. They know they're going to have, you know, touch wood, the same goalkeeper behind them for most of the season. And they're comfortable. And we can rotate Dan Burn, Sven Botman, Fabian Schär, dare I say it, Jamal Lascelles, and Matt Targett and Kieran Trippier. And we've got Manquillo, we've got Dummett, we've got Jamal Lewis, we've got players we've got so much strength and depth in that back four now. It's unbelievable. And from my perspective, I think that it's horses for courses for Eddie. And I think he'll look at Brentford and I think he'll make a change. I predicted the other day, I think on Matchday Live, I think there'll be a couple of changes. I think if ASM's fit, he comes in for Murphy, and I think he drops either Botman or Byrne, and he brings in Target. And, he keeps Share in, and he plays Share alongside Botman or Byrne, and he puts Matt Target into left back because they've got a bit of pace, Brentford. They play differently. So I think that'll be the changes. I think there'll be 2 changes, but he will pick the team to beat the opposition, which is what Kenny says. Any other points, Alan?
Well, just basically on that point that was on the screen before there, Steve, I do believe Brentford will come more attacking actually than Bournemouth and Crystal Palace. I think it'll be a different game. And I agree with David Orr. I think I'll predict now, early prediction, Joe, Steve, 3-1. That's where I think. I think it'll be an entertaining game. It was 3-3 last year, and I think it'll be the same because Thomas Frank does play a more adventurous game, and he won't be frightened to do that up here. I don't think they'll sit back like Bournemouth and Crystal Palace did, to be fair. He'll be one of the few top 6, apart from the top 6, who I do expect, the likes of Chelsea and Liverpool and the likes, they will come up to St James's and try and attack. But other than that, I think Brentford will be one of the few teams that actually do that. Apart from that, I do expect them to. I'm like with David Orr actually there on that. To answer his point, yes, I think they will come and to attack, and I think we'll win 3-1. But I'll let it go at that, lads. I could talk all night, but Joe, 1 year in the takeover, I couldn't sleep the night before it was announced, and I was dancing with joy in my lifetime, lads. I've had the unfortunate to watch, like Gordon Lee and Bill McGarry as managers, and Steve Bruce in my time, and the lights who up before even your times, lads. So I'm over the moon at the takeover. It's happened. It's been brilliant to see. As slow as you go, but lying 7th in the Premier League, still in the League Cup. How long have we said that? For a while. Crystal Palace to them to go through the 4th round. Yeah, fingers crossed, lads. And it's been great to be on the show, Steve. Joe,
Alan, thank you for coming back on, mate. We've been giving you a shout each week and hoping that you would jump back on, mate. So now it's a Monday night again, and you can jump on anytime between 7 and 8. We always enjoy hearing you, Alan. Thanks very much for taking the time.
I'm not a poor Peter, by the way, Joe, Steve. It's just between Pickford, Ramsdale and Pope, there's just a paper between the 3 of them, lads. I don't think we've got an outstanding keeper that's like what I would class as world class, like Peter Shilton say. That was number 1, that stood out a mile. But they've all got good strength, and Pope's been outstanding for it. It's just, unfortunately for me, Steve, Joe, Gareth Southgate prefers Pickford, whether we like it or not. And that's why I don't think he'd be an England regular. Yeah. But anyway.
Brilliant stuff, Alan. Everyone in the chat. Everyone in the chat is very happy to see you back as well, mate. And you're looking fit and well. Thanks for coming on, mate. Hopefully see you again next week, mate.
Cheers. Will do.
Take care, pal. Bye-bye. Great to have Alan back. He certainly has an opinion. Great to see him on, and always some great points to be made. We've got Kevin next and then Darren. So it's good evening, Kevin.
Hello, fellas. How are you?
Good to see you, Kevin. Where are you? Now, you're not calling from Biker or Seton there by the weather.
No, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, south of Atlanta.
Fantastic, mate. Fantastic. Well, welcome to the show, mate. Thanks very much for coming on, mate. What would you like to say?
No, just appreciate what you guys have been doing for the past 2 years. I've been, locked down in the full bit. It just keeps me going. I'm sitting out here on my back deck doing my coaching sessions for tonight. So that's what I do. I sit and watch you lot and have a bit of crack and a bit of a laugh. And, I've got an opinion about the game. And, just like to put my opinion across.
Good stuff, mate. Okay, well, Newcastle with a 4-1 win across at Fulham on the weekend on Saturday. I mean, look, it was a good performance, wasn't it? I mean, we can't pick anybody out as man of the match. We can pick people out who were, Almiron with his goals, Callum Wilson back on the score sheet, Murphy, who we were all groaning about, going, "Oh God, Murphy's in the team."
Yeah.
Played well. Joe's picked out Willock. I mean, it was just a great team performance, wasn't it?
Yeah, agreed. It was a team performance. I was driving on the way to one of my team's games, sitting in the car watching it. So we had the luxury over here to sitting on Peacock, and I got on my phone watching it. So I missed the last part of it. So against the law a little bit, but keep that on a hush hush. But it was a team performance, and ever since Eddie Howe's came in, you've seen the transformation of that in terms of the way we play. Yes, it's not always fantastic. I'm a coach, I understand that, but there's a philosophy behind how we play. I mean, we're overloaded outside, on the right side all the time, left side, whoever it is, it doesn't matter who we play. But the way we played, the way we dominated the game, like you said the other day, regardless of the 10 men, I didn't even fear Fulham, but based on the way they set up and where they were going to play. It just looked like it was going to go lumped into Mitrovic, play off of him, get second balls, and then we'll get a set piece here or there, whatever. They didn't look a threat whatsoever. But, it was a comfortable performance, to be honest. It was a nice drive up to my game, and my girls' team won 4-0, so it was a good result for me and my boys. So yeah, it was an all-around good performance. And, again, it's a long time coming, because at the end of the day, I wouldn't say flat to deceive, but we've played some good football at the end of the day. We've moved it, we've shifted, left to right, left, get in the end, the final third of the field, final product. And that's what ultimately where, I've always said to my teams and coaching, that's the hardest thing in the world to do, is score. At the end of the day, now we've got 4. It should have been more, but hey, I'm not complaining. I didn't see the last goal, just you couldn't see it, but it is what it is. It looks disappointing, but again, I've always said, stop the cross, deal with the ball and what you got to do. And yeah, so look, I'm happy. I mean, mate, I'm an Atlanta United fan. Miggy's got 2. I was happy when he was here, and now I'm happy with us. So what I mean. So it was a good day all round.
Yeah, it's hard, I guess, for players to come on, though. I mean, yourself, Kevin, having players come on in a game, and we made a lot of changes, didn't we? At the at the end, resting players, which is the right thing to do, of course. But you can get, it takes time to adapt to a game sometimes, and it was no coincidence that the 2 players you talk about stopping the cross and not picking up your man. Those 2 things were both players who'd come on, sadly.
True, but however, the professional footballers at the end of the day, and if that's your job and that's your role, regardless if it's 1-0, 0-0, whatever it is, and we're not going to make wholesale changes like you've discussed previous in other shows, but as you're going into that, you should be mentally ready to say, okay, we're 4-0 up. Let's keep a clean sheet. When I seen it, we conceded a goal, I was like, oh, well, that's disappointing that we've conceded, because they should know as a defensive unit, as a defensive group, we should be able to see that out. Regardless, I mean, look, turn them around, go along, just get it down. You do what you have to do just to keep the clean sheet. And it doesn't have to be pretty at the end of the day. It's 4-0. You know what I mean? So that was just a little blot on the whole thing. But again, we can't teach fish to walk. It is what it is. We've got to figure the players who came on obviously are, in my opinion, aren't good enough. Like Jamal Lascelles, I think he's entry ball into from defensive third into the the top end of the pitch is terrible. I don't think he's comfortable on the ball at all. He might have a bit of pace, he might have a bit of leadership, he might have this or the other. However, is he good enough? Probably not. That's probably why he's sitting on the bench and keeping it warm. So, and like Jamal Lewis, yes, he's got pace. He had the Liverpools after him and all the above. However, not good enough. Again, we've went into, like you guys have seen for months, and I've been watching it and come like nodding my head and agreeing. We're in a different market, in a different level of where we've got to be at. I mean, look, he needs minutes. We understand all that. We get it. But, I would have probably kept it as it was for the most part. You shift it around a little bit, but not too much. Just to see it out, get a clean sheet. Goal difference, again, like under Rafa, is points. you never know. It is what it is what it is. I just say, I look at it from a different point of view. I look at it from a coach's point of view. I'm sorry, I'm very analytical and sad when it comes to that. But it's points at the end of the day. That one goal, you never know who. Hey, we had a turnaround last year, and it could go the other way. I'm not saying it is, but I think we're playing the best football I've ever seen since Keegan. That was my first season ticket was in 1993 of a 4 season. So I was blessed enough to see all of that. Win 4-3 doesn't matter. Conceding goals doesn't matter to me anymore. But now, with the way the game's going, structure, working hard constantly for 90 minutes has to be the way forward. We can't let 10 men or the ill discipline of others coming in to concede a goal. And that'll affect the whole team. Because
it will. It will. Davy Brewer says they'll be seething behind the scenes, conceding the late goal. Joe, have you got anything you want to say to Kev?
Just on that point, you've seen and you've heard the reaction of Sven Botman just was not happy at all at conceding, and rightly so, as Kevin said. I started the show by saying I didn't want to take too much of the shine off the result. But yeah, of course, professional footballers, they will be disappointed. Nick Pope will be disappointed. Eddie Howe will be disappointed. One of the interesting things, though, based on what Kevin's talking about, is I watched the Manchester game yesterday, and there was a very, very evident impact on Manchester City doing what we did. So they made wholesale changes as well. And all of a sudden, Manchester United looked like Manchester United of 15 years ago. They seemed to have more time on the ball. The whole City kind of, they were just affected, their ability to go forward like they were with De Bruyne on and Foden and whoever else they had. So, yeah, it wasn't just Newcastle. And it's an interesting point, isn't it? Yes, it's great in many respects that you've got the ability to use 5 substitutes. But essentially, if you bring 5 players on, you've changed half of your team. And that's got to impact somewhere. So, yeah, maybe it's something we need to think about. And I just hope, as Kevin said, that we don't miss out on the Champions League space by 1 goal at the end of the season, because that would be devastating.
Well, yeah, I hope so, because I can get a flight from Atlanta anyway. I'm just
Kev, we've got other people waiting, mate. But listen, been absolutely fantastic getting you on. Any other points you want to make?
No, mate, just keep doing what you're doing. You got me through COVID. I was in a very dark place, to be honest, with the mental health stuff. I went through a divorce. I went through all sorts of stuff, and it kept me going. I was sitting there on the back deck. Now I'm thankfully remarried and all the rest of it, and coaching again and doing what I love, and my team, and just shout out to my girls for, you can follow them on Twitter and all the rest of it at SSA.
What's the name of the team?
It's we're called Southern Soccer Academy in Atlanta, Georgia. We're the biggest soccer club in Georgia. And pretty much we compete with Atlanta United and things like that on like a youth level. I basically I wouldn't say the crap teams, but at the same time, I get the teams which you got to develop and grow, and like an Eddie Howe, essentially. I come in and get them and develop them. And I mean, I took over with some personal issues with me recently, and they went unbeaten for the past 4 or 5 games, and we made their first ever final last weekend.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and they got a silver medal. It wasn't the best colour in the world, but we'll take a medal home with us. We got there, and then we've got a tournament this coming weekend in Jekyll Island in the Coastal Georgia tournament, and so I've got to drive 4.5 hours for that, and it's all paid for. It's all they're paying for it.
Great.
So but yeah, so no, just keep doing what you do, mate. And if you fancy a tour, give my mom a shout. She does all the tours and stuff, and at the club. I worked at the club. It's ingrained in my heart, and I just wish, a little emotional. I wish my dad was around. He passed away 5 years ago, a couple of weeks ago. It's difficult. He was my mom and dad met at St. James's Park in the Leazes End. So it's like, I just wish he could see where we are now from what he left us with. So yeah, just again, appreciate you. So I just, if you like me back on, I've got quite a bit of opinion on football and how it should be played and how Newcastle should be played, how we should go.
100%, Kev. Listen, thanks for taking the time to come on. It's great to have you on. We will be doing this every Monday, and I dare say as well we'll do a couple of. We enjoyed doing the match day live because I missed it. I've got to be honest, but I am at most of the matches, and I find it so difficult to obviously be able to do that. But there's a couple of games coming up with real strikes, so if you fancy jumping on a match day live and you're not coaching or managing at the time, feel free. But keep an eye out, Kev. Maybe drop us a message on Twitter, and we'll keep in touch that way.
Yeah, I will do, mate. Probably not. I've pretty much full schedule all the way till December, but I'll probably jump on the Monday Club, and there's
brilliant.
I can do that. We'll have a good old chit chat and see where we go.
Good stuff, mate. Okay, thanks very much for taking the time to come on, Kev. Have a good night. Take care.
All right, fellas, have a great one.
Hey, Kevin.
Bye-bye. Great to have Kevin on. Fantastic. And that's what it's all about. And NUFC matters. Always has been, always will be. You, the supporters, people in the chat, and just coming on and giving your opinion. Darren is next, and then we've got Babbo lined up. So good evening, Darren.
Hello, boys. All right?
All right.
Yes, all good, mate. Great to see you. What a win.
I've watched it a few times now. Like, it's just good to see the passing the ball. Not panicking. The back, like Botman, in the 2 years' time, he's going to be unbelievable. And Van Dijk, I think he's finished. I think Botman's ready to take over Van Dijk now.
Well, let's chuck this in while you mention that. Jeff Swan put a question, and he says, "Thoughts on Liverpool, please, gents. What do you think has happened there?" Because I said this a while back at the start of the season when people were saying it was a freak defeat and it was a bad start of the season, but there is an issue with Van Dijk, isn't there? You've just picked that out there, I think, Darren. There seems to be a big issue, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, he's 31 now, and great man like Ferguson was it. Yeah, I looked before. I did double check. He's 31. And Liverpool's midfield, they're aging. They're all like in the 30s. And Ferguson was, my opinion, is one of the greatest managers in the Premiership. He knew when it was time to rebuild.
Yeah.
I don't think Klopp knows how to rebuild. He's lived on all these, like, as soon as Mane's went, they've went pear-shaped. And they've got like fast midfield players. Milner's 44 now, whatever he is.
It's true. I think you're right. Mate. I think it could be down to it's an aging squad, and you're right. Alex Ferguson didn't know when to repair, to replace. I want to keep it Newcastle, but we will talk about this as well because I do like to keep the chat involved. And so Monkey Suit said, "I know this isn't about Newcastle, but I legitimately can't believe what I'm seeing with Haaland. The guy's an alien. He's bloody on to break Shearer's record in 4 seasons, for Christ's sake." Now, Barry did say, Haaland said he won't be in England for more than 3 seasons because he wants to play for Real Madrid. He said he also wants to play for each of the major leagues in his career. So Serie A, he probably wants to play in the Bundesliga, wants to play in the Spanish and obviously the Premier League. So, that's great. I think, he probably scored 200 goals. He won't beat Shearer's record. 100% he won. But Haaland is different gravy, isn't he, Darren?
That's not many. He just knows with the goals. It's just great to see national goal squad score goals. He's just unbelievable. He's finishing against Man U yesterday. He's just in the right place. Movement. He touched more the ball when he has in most games yesterday, but he's just a different gravy, isn't he?
So, Joe, your views on Liverpool and Haaland? Before we get back to Newcastle,
what a shame, eh? What a shame. I agree with Darren. Just as Darren was talking there, Sadio Mane's left a massive hole. Firmino, Salah, and Mane looked absolutely brilliant. And yes, there was high hopes for Diaz they brought in. But it's not working. It's not as effective. Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson could not keep that form up. You talk about people being an alien. In terms of a right fullback, Alexander-Arnold was absolutely untouchable, assist after assist, banging goals in left, right and centre. He's gone off the boil. And I agree, in terms of the quality of the squad, I've never been a fan, and I'm not just saying it because he's from, my up the road, you're down the road. But Jordan Henderson, I agree with Darren. I mean, I think James Milner's been 47 for about the last 25 years, hasn't he? Joel Matip, they're not exactly wonderful footballers, are they? And I think Klopp... Klopp's been incredible. I think the pressure of Liverpool, of Klopp versus Guardiola just continues to do what he does. He continues to show him who the man is. And yeah, Liverpool need a bit of a shake-up. But again, I know it's not Friday night, but we talk about kind of financing football. They're putting extra tiers on the stadium and all the rest of it. So yes, the Champions League winners in recent years. Yes, they can attract players, but actually how much money's in the bank, how much money do they get? So in terms of rebuilding that squad, it might be interesting. And obviously Nunes, they bought Nunes and everyone was expecting that he was going to go on and actually, equal or better Erling Haaland. That doesn't seem to have worked. He got sent off, and it's not really working out at the moment for him. So in terms of Erling Haaland, I said it time and time again, if there was one player on earth that the PIF should have just sold all the gold in Saudi Arabia to buy, it would have been Haaland. There isn't enough superlatives, is there? And this is a lad, we talk about he's a young lad, he'll take time to adapt to English football and all the rest of it. Absolute nonsense. He adapted within 10 minutes and he's going to absolutely destroy this league. And whether he wants to go abroad or not, money talks, doesn't it? If he's on, 300 odd grand a week, can Barcelona live with that type of money at the moment? I don't know. Maybe Newcastle United can, so maybe we'll get him. But I tell you what, he'll beat Shearer's record before Harry Kane does. I'm absolutely certain of that if he stays in England. So there's a challenge for you.
Vinnie Jones would have sorted him out, no doubt about it. Bring back Vinnie Jones or Steve McMahon. They would have put Haaland into Rosette, man. Darren, I'm going to ask you about this. Callum Wilson has signed a new contract. That'll keep him out the club, for another 2 years. Also opens the possibility of retiring at the club, which he recently said he would be happy to do so. Of course, a clause in his contract means that Callum Wilson's contract is now extended. Probably a few more quid in the bank as well per week for the guy. Obviously has his injury issues, as we all know, well documented, but no doubt about it, when he plays, he scores goals, and the better players we're getting in means more chances equals more goals. We've just got to keep him fit. But good news, another bit of good news for Newcastle, that our number 9 is staying at the club. Yeah,
I think it's a good bit of business by the club, because I think he's always going to score a goal. He's not slow. He's still got the pace. He's reliable. He'll come on and bust the gut, and he'll want to score a goal, and that's what you need. So I think it's a very good business sense of Newcastle, because I think he loves it up here, and I think he'll score goals still, and he wants to do good.
Yeah, nobody really wants to leave Newcastle at the minute, Joe. But it's another couple of years for Callum Wilson, which is good. I think we still feel that we spoke about it many times on the transfer show, that one striker or one player coming in the forward line wouldn't be the end of it. There'll be more coming in, and there'll be pressure on Callum Wilson, and he's going to have to stay fit, because there's no doubt when he's fit. He's on form. He will score goals. But from my perspective, if another goal scorer comes in one of these transfer windows, whether it be January or the summer, then he's going to have his work cut out if he gets injured.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, firstly, great bit of business, great bit of PR. He's a nice guy. He's a consummate pro. If he's going to stay around and kind of bring some of these youngsters on and all the rest of it, maybe people like Alexander Isak need a Callum Wilson. Maybe this young lad from Australia needs a Callum Wilson. It's about 23 goals, I think, in 48 games. Very good return. I just wish he'd stay fit, Steve. He's the number 9 we've been crying out for, arguably since Cisse and Bar, maybe, dare I say. Yeah. He's that absolute, number 9. But I agree with you, mate. We've said it all along, haven't we? Talk about players like Darwin Núñez, Erling Haaland, etc., etc. If these guys come up and Newcastle United have the ability and are in the market, they sign them. I don't think we mentioned it earlier, don't we? We're not in the market anymore for Ryan Fraser and Callum Wilson and Jamal Lascelles and Jamal Lewis. We've moved on now. We're arguably looking at that next level of player. So I hope he stays fit. I hope he bags 20 goals this season at least. He deserves it. If he was earning slightly less than some of the higher earners, again, I think he's probably, he's arguably our main man, isn't he, when he's fit and firing. So, he deserves the money. But yeah, he'll definitely stay number 9 for this season. Let's see what happens next summer.
Any other points, Darren?
I've got a big shout out to Murphy on Saturday, because like when I seen the team sheet, I was like, oh Christ, cringe a bit, but you kind of just give man the match. You've got to give the full team man the match, because everybody played the belt. But just to mention him there, I get a lot of criticism but for once I've got to say he played good, and I thought good for that.
Yeah, no, you're right, mate. I mean, we've said already over the last couple of days, it's difficult to pick man of the match out. But yeah, Murphy, because of the collective groan amongst everybody on the panel, that we had on Saturday, it was just great to see him put in such a great performance. And it's great when players do that, because, it leaves people, fans scratching their heads going, what do I know about football? And I think it's Mitch who often says that's why Howe gets paid the big bucks, and it certainly is. And I'm sure you get
young heroes really who plays good and don't get it. Last your Mickey Armstrong gets mentioned and your Brunos, but it's the other players who play well and they don't get the credit for playing well. And that's what I think anyway.
Before we bring Babu on, just want to say, Darren, you can answer this one first. Who gets sacked next?
Brendan Rodgers when he gets beat tonight.
Yeah. That would be my answer. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Darren, as always, mate, thanks for popping on. Probably see you at the weekend, mate, for the Brentford game. Take care, pal.
See you, Darren.
Yeah, great to have Darren on, and welcome to Babu.
Hey guys, how are we doing?
All good, mate. How was the family get together at the weekend?
It was very good. It was very good. I was happy they gave me my 10 minutes to quickly catch up.
So funny. That was so funny. Yeah, lots of people making excuses to go and check their phones and stuff like that. But at least you asked permission. That was very polite of you, Babu. But now you've had time to reflect on the game at the weekend. What was your thoughts?
I think it was a good game. I think before the red card, because I watched the whole game again because I recorded it, I was like, we seem to already have that little bit of fight about us, and the red card just went like, oh, you're giving us all the cards now. Sure, let's go. I think Miggy has just found, I don't know what he did in preseason, but you could tell from preseason that he was just like, you know what, I have nothing to lose. I'm just going to give everything I have. And now it's just coming out. I was impressed with Sean Longstaff. I was like, you know what? You seem to be knocking on the door, as Howe said, and that's good. We want players to know that there's someone on your toes. I'm not sure how Shelby is going to come back into this side, because it seems like every place is up for grabs now and everyone is fighting for it. I was a bit disappointed at conceding the goal, because watching it back, I was like, if you're a schoolboy defender, there are 3 rules that if you follow, even if you're not the best on the ball technically, you still get in the team. 1, everyone knows that if you're playing central defense or in the defense, you don't let the ball bounce. If that ball bounces, you don't know what's going to happen to it, and that's it. 2, you don't play in the box. If the ball is in the box, you attack it, you get it out as quickly as possible. And 3, you don't play in the box. So when I saw the goal going, I was like, Jamal, come on, man. I'm rooting for you. He literally, all he had to do was attack the ball. Don't let the ball bounce. Don't do that. And it's very funny because I was watching the Man United game on and I think it was it Varane or Shaw? One of them did the same thing, and I was like, don't wait for the ball. If you're in that 18-yard box, don't wait for the ball. If you hit it and it goes to a corner, it's better than you waiting for someone to take it. But I think there were a lot of positives. I saw Jacob Murphy play with confidence. He's always had that ability. The problem is he always makes half decisions, like halfway through a shot, he's like, no, let me not hit it. And so I kind of enjoyed watching that. And I hope in the next match we actually do and play the same way.
Yeah. What do you take out of what Babu said, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. Was that your interview for the Middlesbrough job there, Babu? You really impressed me there, mate. I'll give Steve Gibson a ring. Yeah, listen, he's absolutely dead right. Absolutely dead right. Great acknowledgement for Sean Longstaff. Interesting point about John Joe Shelby. Does he have a God-given right to walk back into that side? We talk a lot about the forward line, don't we? And I'd be really, really interested to know if Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall have got is there an ideal midfield three? I assume Bruno Guimaraes is in there. I would think that Joe Linton was in there, I assume. And then what? And I think the guy that stood out for me, as much as Longstaff did have a fantastic game, another unsung hero, and I'm really pleased for him, as I said earlier, was Joe Willock. Because again, something just doesn't seem to be happening for the lad. He doesn't have that license that Steve Bruce gave him as such. I don't know whether Howe's got him in a more disciplined position, or he's just been really unlucky, or for whatever reason it just hasn't clicked. But for some reason, and I said on Friday night, the beauty of the game, I was expecting to see Elliot Anderson, because I think the beauty of playing a side like Fulham is that that midfield was going to be wide open and players were going to get time on the ball. And you give people like Bruno Guimaraes time on the ball and he's going to significantly hurt you. I looked at Christian Eriksen playing for Manchester United yesterday, and I know he was a guy that we were linked with. And I just thought, do you know what? He couldn't hold a candle to Guimaraes at the moment. Guimaraes is miles ahead of him. So yeah, I think things are looking good. I think, I'd like to see a bit more from Joe Willock, or more consistency. Jacob Murphy, I think everyone assumes that he's still a young lad. He's not. Is he 28 or 29-year-old? I think he is, isn't he? So it was nice to say, look, there's the shirt, mate. Go and show us what you can do. And I've been critical, haven't I, saying that you only see these guys coming on with 10 minutes to go in the hope that they can affect the game somehow. Actually, they started, and what he did was he absolutely affected the game. So let's see more of it. I think the challenge for me is, though, as we've had a 4-1 victory away from home, players like Willock and Longstaff and Murphy have played really, really well. Are they going into this week thinking, thing is, though, I know I'll be on the bench on Saturday. I know I'm not playing. So what does that do to their confidence? Or actually, does Eddie Howe say, do you know what, lads, we were fantastic on Saturday, same team. And if Sam Maximin's fit and Isaac's fit and whatever, same team, go and do the same again and show us that you can do it. So interesting problems to have. Nice.
That's a very interesting point. Given that, are we going to have the same starting 11?
Brentford play football as well, don't they? So again, if it's going to be an open flowing game, why wouldn't you say to Willock and Murphy, go for it? Because
they play open football at home, but this is away from home, and they'll have sat and watched Crystal Palace and Bournemouth videos, because that's what players and managers do, and they'll have gone, we know how to get a point up there, boys. They'll come and sit back, won't they? More than Joe.
Yeah, it's a great. It's a great point, Steve. Sorry, Babbo. It's a great point, that actually, Steve. And I think when you've got teams coming to attack you, like Manchester City did, we showed what we can do when we attack. When you play wide open, like Fulham did, we sure will do it to you. The one thing we still, the one thing we need to do is when teams come and shut the shop, we've got to be good enough to break them down. And without St. Maximin, and arguably now without Isaac, that's always going to be the $1 million challenge, isn't it? But I'd hate to think, it'll be awful to think that every side that comes to St. James's Park this season is going to put 7 men behind the ball, and
Yeah, but you've got to find a way of breaking it down, Babu, haven't you? And ASM should be back this weekend. Bruno will be in the team. Wilson will be in the team. We're only missing Isaac. Then we've got enough to trouble a team. And I think when you're ploughing a lone furrow with one person up front. So against Bournemouth and against Palace, I can't recall the teams off the top of my head, but do we have Isaac up top? Do we have one player up front? We're struggling for forward players, and it becomes a problem. But suddenly, ASM, Wilson, Bruno, you've got 3 creative players causing problems. John Joe Shelby will be knocking on the door shortly as well. We've got players who can cause problems. That's what we've been missing.
I think because we have not really been playing against teams that are like putting 7 men behind the ball, it is very odd. We are usually we are usually the ones that are parking the bus. So now that it's happening to us, that's a That's the greatest compliment we've gotten this season, to have like teams come to, even we go to visit some teams and they also pack the bus, because they are like, if you let them run at you, they will rip you to shreds. I mean, I was watching the game against City and I was like, this is Newcastle giving City a run for their money.
Yep.
Right? And we saw United, they tried to do it and they got ripped to shreds. On the point of Eriksen, I was going to say, that was what I wanted to interrupt you for, on Joe. Eriksen is being told to do something he's never done before. He's told to sit in a bad team where he has to actually protect the ball. Because when he played at Tottenham, he knew that, you know, you had Herberg and the rest that will save his ass if he misses. Now, the problems are glaring because, one, and unfortunately, this is why I believe Man United lost to City. They tried to play like Newcastle, but they did not have the work rate. Because at a certain point, I saw Rashford just jogging. If that was Wilson, he's already on them. Miggy is already on them. Even saying Maximan is marking players now, because he knows he doesn't just get an easy ride. If he relents, he's going to lose his place.
Yeah.
And no one, because Isak can play on the right, and Isak is a very slick player with his feet. So even ASM doesn't get a free ride now, and that is shocking. So it's quite important that we actually find, I think, maybe just 2 more creative players, because if we can actually get Maddison, I think we're done. That's like, if we can even get a player like Maddison, I'm like, right, we have Bruno, we'll have a Maddison-like player, we'll have ASM. Wilson makes some deadly runs and he always drags players, and Miggy is always, I'm like, yeah, we're done. So now, I don't know. I think if we can get a proper like Joe Linton, we need another player like Joe Linton. I never imagined 3 years ago I'll be saying we need another player like Joe Linton. Can you imagine what kind of mad cycle we've gone into, that we need more players like Joe Linton, because he stops everything. And I do hope Willock gets back into form, because I think given that he started with 7 games in a row, or 7 goals in a row in 7 games, you're just like, this is why we brought you, yeah? And unfortunately, your role might have changed, but for most people that are watching football, they expect you to at least do a little bit like what you did when you first started.
Barry Hogan made a point about Elliot Anderson earlier on. Joe said we didn't hear too much about him. And he came on, I think he had about half an hour in the game. I mean, yeah, I think this probably is the reason that, you know, ultimately Eddie's taking his time with the kid. He's not going to be a world beater. He's a young kid. He's learning his trade. He's got to get there slowly but surely. And, you know, at some point he will get a start. It probably won't be, I don't think now, until the Palace game in the League Cup. But he will get a start at some point. But Eddie Howe sees him every day in training. He's got him in the squad, and that tells you what he's doing in training is good. But ultimately, yeah, there wasn't a great deal. But we made a lot of changes, and it is difficult to come on and you know, in a game and suddenly adapt.
Yeah, that's exactly the point I was going to make, Steve. Yeah, we've talked, haven't we? This whole show's been about people marauding forward and legs and pace, and, you know, Murphy and Almiron and, you know, everyone, Willock bombing forward, to come off the bench, you know, and suddenly kind of pick that pace up, and, you know, arguably the game was done at 70 minutes anyway, wasn't it? You know what I mean? So yeah, maybe expectation. I wonder if you see the best of Elliot Anderson starting him, you know, so he can pick the pace of the game up from the start with the rest of the guys. When that'll be, is he ready for the Premier League? Time will tell. I did wonder if he'd play on Saturday. I'll be honest with you. What I was expecting something, or I was wanting something. What I didn't expect was that was going to be Jacob Murphy. And again, as you've said, you know, fair play to Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe picked him, and he had a worldie. So yeah, Anderson's going to be interesting. I know it was a Newcastle takeover on Soccer AM on Saturday morning, if anybody watched it, and Shola Amiobi was on. And Shola give Elliot Anderson special mention as well, in terms of kind of having this kid who we've nurtured and we've brought on, and is quality enough to be in and around the first team and certainly the first team squad. So his day will come, won't it? His day is going to come, but do you throw him in? It's that classic thing, isn't it? You throw him in on Saturday, he has an absolute mare, we get beat 2-0. What happens? Everybody starts blaming him and saying he's not good enough, he needs to go out on loan and blah. So slow. It's going to be slow, isn't it? It's going to be, and I think it's going to be like this for the rest of the season, barring an absolute injury nightmare. He'll be in and out all season, from what I can gather.
We've just had an injury nightmare, haven't we? But Elliot Anderson, yeah, it's going to take a little bit of time, Babbo, isn't it? For the it's a slow progression. I mean, Pep didn't rush Foden. You know what I mean? He brought him in. He was part of the team, and now we're really seeing the best of Phil Foden. I mean, since Sterling's departure at Man City and the acquisition of Haaland, Foden is now coming into his own. And I mean, he's only 22. And he's banged in. I think he's gone over 50 Premier League goals now. You know, with that hat trick that he got at the weekend. So quite a start for the young Mancunian.
I know, it's incredible. I mean, I really hope that we can keep giving youngsters a chance, because that is one thing this club over the last 5-6 years has not done. We've not really engaged. I was happy to see a couple of signings being done in the youth academy, just to at least bring us up to a certain standard and then start pushing on from there. Because while I understand that we are one of the richest, if not the richest club in the world, the goal should not be to try and emulate what Man United do or what Fulham do every season, where when they come up, they just buy a chunk of players and then they expect them to just do well. I told a friend of mine who's a Man United fan, I said, one of the reasons Man United is doing so badly, in my opinion, is they want to buy a finished player and buy a finished team. And Newcastle, that's my greatest fear, that we end up doing something like that. So I'm very happy to see that in Newcastle, at least we go okay, you know what? Yeah, you're a superstar. Yeah, you want to come over, but if you don't have the right attitude, you can't come here, because we're no longer, how do I say it, a free legacy club. There were some players that was these guys have been playing week in, week out, and they are still offering us nothing, and they still get on. So now that everyone is fighting for a place, I hope that they can include the youngsters in there too, so we can actually see more of Elliot Anderson and I think it's Mr. Watts. Yeah, just to give people in the academy hope that, you know what, look, it's not only Arsenal that play young players. We too, we got some things in the academy, and we know that the future is bright. Because unfortunately, unless you keep pace with the academy games, you're not going to know any of these guys, and it doesn't really give us hope that there's a better future coming if all we can do is just buy players.
Yeah, great stuff tonight from everybody. Babbo, thanks very much for jumping on as well.
No worries.
As always, mate, look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care, mate.
Okay, take care. Bye.
See you, Babbo.
Great to have Babbo on. Some great callers tonight, Joe.
Absolutely. As always, Steve. Yeah, absolutely. We get some decent... not much rabble gets past us, gets through the doors of the club. You know what I mean?
I'm sure Babbo saw the comment as well. That's another lookalike. Babbo has been compared to Little Richard. I'm sure, and that's a compliment. And Kevin was compared to Kevin Nolan. And Lejeune. Did you see that? So now the people who are coming on. In fact, Babbo, you're still in the green room. Little Richard, would you take that, Babbo? Are you still there? Oh, he's gone. Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of those things when you're on here, you put your head above the parapet on these programs, guys. You're there to be shot at. You're going to get lookalikes. Unfortunately for some people, I'll get David Beckham. Joe, the one I've got for you on Friday that's sent in by your dad is fantastic, mate. Looking forward to seeing that. Oh, there's Babbo. He's there. Babbo, Little Richard. Little Richard.
Ironically, I love Little Richard.
Next week we'll get you singing Little Richard, mate, when you're on.
Okay.
Take care, mate. Fantastic. That's what it's all about. A bit of Davy Brewis. Never be frightened to come on, mate. It's always good. You can always get in, mate. It's always well worth the crack. Joe, as always, we will see you on Friday for the Three Amigos. Slightly earlier. Don't forget, mate, 4 to 6 as we are going to.
I might be on the road.
Oh, you have to just do it on the phone, or maybe it's pre-recorded if you can, mate.
My birthday as well, so I don't know what state I'll be in. Don't forget.
Yeah, that'll be good, mate. That'll be good. All right. As always, Joe, thanks very much, mate, for coming on. I'm going to play out with the ads. Take care, everybody. Thanks to all the moderators. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Good night. God
See you
bless.
guys.
And I'm back 11 o'clock till 12 o'clock tomorrow with Ben Jacobs. Take care. Big thank you to skipsandbins.com, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract, free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Darren Baldwin Funerals, independent funeral directors. You can find them at 304 Old Durham Road, Gateshead. Telephone 0191 478 273 or email Darren at darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk or go to the website darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk. Thanks to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists. You can find them at thegohd.com. And thanks to 3 Property, who specialise in sourcing investment properties for their clients who are looking to invest in the Northeast. They offer a full in-house service from sourcing the deals to managing the properties for you. They've done over 100 plus deals in the past 12 months for clients all over the UK. Give the guys a follow on Instagram, matty.patter_northeast property and phil.reed_northeast property, or email phil@3property.co.uk if you're interested in getting a good property deal. Thanks also to Mr. Vicky's Sauces. They are handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at mrvickies.co.uk or give them a call on 01768 210 102. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the video technology side of things. And thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wales and Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. If you want to subscribe to the channel, hit the NUFC Matters logo in the bottom right-hand corner and you can subscribe for free. Hit the thumb up underneath the video to like it. It does us a big favour. And click share to share to your social media, such as Facebook and Twitter. Maybe he's added to a Newcastle United group. You can also make a donation. Just hit the thanks button underneath if you're enjoying the content and you want to share something with me or the people on the channel. And you can also click join, which means that you commit to maybe a monthly membership, or you can become a cult member. How do you do that? Well, you go to the website, nufcmatters.com, and you search for membership. What do you get for your £25 one-off payment? You get a cup, a pen, a membership card, and a scarf, and entry into the monthly draw. We also have a smart code. There you go, the QR code there. If you put your smartphone over it, it'll take you straight to the website and you can get involved in a cult membership pack today. We also give you something for nothing. If you subscribe to the show, then email john@nufcmatters.com and get your free car window sticker now. We also support the food bank on here. nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk is the Matchday Bucket website. You just need to go there and you can make a virtual donation. Don't forget, during the season on match days, we're at the Dog and Parrot with Supermac, pre-match and post-match. And we're at Pumphrey's, John Anderson and John Gibson, pre-match only. Also got the Takeover anniversary party coming up at the Irish Centre. Tickets are £2 on the door, and you can get your tickets for that from nufcmatters.com. And Supermac will be at the Terrace Club in Seaton Delaval, Friday the 11th of November. Tickets are a tenner, table is £650, and you can get those tickets from 0191 237 0133.